Hey everybody, Karina Schmidt. I'm back here. We the People podcast show. We have been around for a week now and we've been super busy interviewing a lot of people, putting a lot of content out there, news for you guys to really seriously consider as we're going into yet another election. I have John Fleming with me here today. He's running for commissioner in Charlotte County in District 2. John, welcome back. You were on the show not too long ago, and it's great to see you again.
Same here. Thanks for having me on the show, Karina. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. John, um, let's talk about the infamous, because I think it's fair to use that word anymore. The infamous Constance laptop scandal matter that does not seem to be going away. In fact, it was brought up at the Charlotte County Commissioners meeting again today. And we know that Chairman Joe Tiseo has been trying to brush it under the rug. A lot of people have been trying to make it go away, but it's not going anywhere. I think people are just really fed up with crooked politicians getting away with murder, any corrupt scandals that you can come near, while citizens can hardly breathe anymore in what some people perceive as Florida becoming a police state. What is your perspective on this matter?
Okay, first, I like to call the Chris Constance thing the laptop gate of Charlotte County. One of the things that concerned me most, since my background, was a police detective in New York City. Integrity in government is paramount to getting the trust of the public. I think what happened, separate and apart from the carelessness of Chris Constance, was how the investigation was handled. I don't think I've met one person out on the street in Charlotte County who's not really concerned about how this whole matter went down. Everyone feels that it was pretty much wiped off the face of the county. No one was looking at it. We have no real media out there. So the Sun just let it go, Wink let it go, and Gulf Coast. For me, what the way I see it is this. The race for Charlotte County Commissioner District 2 is probably one of the most important races in the history of Charlotte County. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, it seems obvious that Chris Constance is going to have to deal with this issue at a later point, whether it's civil lawsuits, whether it's a criminal matter. But at some point in time, he may be forced to step down. Now, if he is, the person who would pick the new county commissioner will be our governor. Well, we
Right.
don't know who the governor is going to be. We could have a Democrat. So I tell people, if Chris Constance gets back into office, well, in about 5 or 6 months, you may have a Democrat sitting on that board because our new governor may be a Democrat. It's not out of question. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But again, this is a very consequential race, and I think every resident in Charlotte County needs to understand how important this is. We don't want a Democrat on that county board of commissioners. It would be a
Right.
disaster.
That would be a really big issue for many reasons. We also don't know at this point who's going to be our next governor.
Right.
And not knowing who that's going to be, it could be devastating for us if we get the wrong person in office.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on the fact that he has not stepped down? What does that tell you about him as a person and as a professional? The
Well,
fact that
I,
so many people have spoken and are still speaking at commissioners' meetings in the media. You see letters to the editor in the newspaper, and that's about the only thing that you see because the paper itself has miraculously endorsed him for whatever reason. You would almost think that something is behind that. Um, but what does that tell us about him as a person?
well,
You come from a criminal investigator background. You have a law enforcement background. When you're dealing with somebody that has committed what should have been a crime, mingling business and that kind of business onto government computers, and he still will not take accountability for what he has done and step down and put the community, the people before himself. What does that tell us?
One, he's selfish. I mean, to carry on in that manner, knowing all the uncertainty going into 2027, I mean, it calls into question his judgment. I mean, the very fact that he would be so careless to download all of these photos, and again, we got to
Yeah.
remember this was a severe breach of people's privacy,
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment violation. But yeah, going back to the issue with 2027 and the uncertainty. I mean, if Constance was a true public servant, he would have stepped down. He would have said to the public, I'm very sorry, please forgive me. And he would have put a contrite message out there. Instead, what did he do? He made a basic claim or statement that he probably wrote up on the way up to the Board of County Commissioners. So I'm deeply concerned over his lack of judgment, selfishness. I mean, really, you could go use a lot more adjectives with this, but he no longer belongs to be in government service.
I'd like to hang on to this for just a second because it makes me think of one thing that I don't think we've talked too much about. Um, how does that position also somebody like Chairman Joe Teseo, that has refused to speak out against him? In fact, he is the reason why nothing was done because he said this is a null and void matter. He took the side of Chris Constance, but we also have Kim Amantri that clearly supports him and is, instead of running in District 2 where she should be running rightfully, she's running in District 4. What does that tell us about those? She's an elected official on the school board up until a few days from now when she officially resigns. What does that tell, or what should that tell the public about specifically those two people?
Well, here's what I always tell people. Without a strong presence in our media, with our media, well, democracy dies in darkness. What I see is that since we have such a weak media out there, things like this can happen. There is no accountability. Chris Constance is never out there with the people.
No.
He hasn't come to a coalition meeting now in about 2 years. You very rarely see him outside of him sitting up on the board. And I mean, remember, he's got two other jobs beside us. I don't know how he can do these three jobs effectively. Obviously, he can't. But the system is broken, Charlotte County. I don't think I've gone a day where someone stops me and says, "Can I trust my government?" It's a terrible
I
thing.
hear
And
that all the time too.
right. So there's no one out there that's providing checks and balances. I mean, without a strong media, without people out there who are in a position like an inspector general, but I mean, accountability in this government is zero. There is no accountability. And when I get elected, I'm going to be look at that specific issue very closely. I think we need something like an inspector general in this county. I think we need someone to look over the shoulder of our county commissioners. They have way too much power. They have too much access to other areas in government which they should not have.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get elected, I'm going to push to have two things done. First, I want to put a bill together so that it can be implemented in 2027 for term limits. Second, I want to see how we can put together a department or an office for an inspector general.
What is the reason that you support term limits? Because there are a couple of ways to look at it. One is that term limits, yeah, prevent people like, in Congress we have Nancy Pelosi and many other on both sides actually that have been sitting there since Napoleon. It's exaggerated, but for the last 4 or 5 decades, it prevents them from abusing power. But on the flip side of it, now we're putting it in the hands of the government to decide who gets a chance to make decisions and to run with bills versus the people, which would be in accordance with the Constitution. Where do
Well,
you stand on that?
I think George Washington set the precedent. Look, I got to tell you this. I'm a first-time candidate running against a 16-year incumbent. the amount of power and influence he has over this county is tremendous. I can tell you many people have come up to me and said they support my campaign, but they don't want to do it in the public. When you're in office for 16 years, you gain a following. And sometimes that following is enough just to keep you in office, even though you don't deserve to be there. So, what does term limits bring? Term limits bring a new perspective on government. When you get new people into that office, new people have new visions, they have new ideas, new ways of doing things. But also with term limits, you have a finite number of years where you have to do what you need to do, the people's business. Sitting in office in a county position for 16 years, I think, is selfish. I really do.
Could it also prevent people from completing what they have been working hard for many years, but against the establishment?
Well, when you look at county government's pretty fluid. I mean, you're going to have a lot of the same issues that are going to come up over and over again. But if I'm an elected official in a county as small as Charlotte, why would I need more than 8 years to get policies in place? Why would I need more than 8 years to build an impressive record of legislation or goals, policies that are going to go in place that'll last a long time? Once you leave office, what you did doesn't go with you, it stays there. If you built a strong foundation, if you made government better, well, it's not going to get worse again. Now, whoever gets elected in your position, well, that's up to the county. That's up to the citizens of Charlotte County. But right now, I am strongly in favor of term limits. I believe it provides accountability. It's another form of accountability. And think it gives residents a whole idea as to what government is. It allows people like me, first time candidate, to feel they have a choice and a chance to work in county government as an elected official.
All right. Let's move on to the issue that's pressing a lot on a lot of people's minds too, of sales tax and property tax bills that are on the table out here. What is your stand on that?
Well, first, I believe Charlotte County residents desperately need property tax relief. Right now, Charlotte County residents face the ninth highest overall property tax burden in the state. We're also the second oldest county in the state. 4 out of every 10 residents in this county lives paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
Our property taxes shoot every year, they've gone up double digits. Our 5 county uh, officials are supposed to be Republicans. Well, I never met Republicans who spend money like this. Also, the sales tax. The sales tax in theory has gone up, and it's done some very worthwhile projects. But wait a minute, a 20-year extension, again, that's not real conservative Republican values.
No.
I don't know how Chris Constance could be so in favor of a 20-year extension. He's come out on the record and been against any property tax relief. So again, my question to people is, question to Chris Constance, is he a real Republican or is he a rhino? I think a lot of people who I meet today feel he's a rhino. He really is. Not
Well,
a
he
true
seems to
conservative.
support a degree of redistribution of wealth, which is definitely not a conservative value. And the same can be said for the lady that's running against Deutsch, that should be running against Constance. Kima Mantri has a track record of redistributing wealth. Whilst you might justify it, it's still a Marxist ideology to redistribute tax dollars. I want to hang on to what you said about reducing the burden on people. And we do have tremendous taxes that we pay already, but we also have some of the highest utility bills around. They have gone up tremendously. Not just, I'm not talking about FPL. We can't really do a whole lot about that at the local level, but certainly our utility bills with water, sewer, and trash removal is outrageous in this county. I moved from Miami-Dade County, and in comparison here, we're paying approximately double. It is ridiculous. What's your position on that, and what are you going to do to cut the utility bills. It should not be profitable for the government in the first place. They should not profit off of people.
Okay. Every citizen watching this needs to understand something. Every time a developer hooks up to our county utilities, he has to pay a fee. They're called tap fees. Now,
Mhm.
back in 2010, Charlotte County Commissioners instituted a policy where every year those tap fees would go up a certain percentage. Well, those tap fees weren't raised from 2018 to 2024. What happened? Well, the citizens had to absorb that difference. What happened was the utility bills for Charlotte County residents has gone up 38% in the past 6 years. At the same time, the fees developers have to pay to tap into those fees has only gone up 8%. Now, I brought this up at a county commissioner meeting, and I was strict and I was in demand that county commissioners relook at that proposal, that agreement, and I wanted to know why has that not been upgraded? Why have they not been charging developers more money? As a result, we have two wastewater facilities in Charlotte County that have reached capacity, yet county commissioners let developers put more and more units online. The Burnstall wastewater facility has been at capacity now for 2 years. So what happened? Well, Charlotte County had to spend $20 million to put a portable waste facility on that site. $20 million, it's only going to last for 2 years. They still have to build a whole new wastewater facility. That's going to cost about 78 million. So if they had started building a new wastewater facility when they should have 4 years ago, we wouldn't have to spend $20 million tax dollars today. Gross negligence on the part of county commissioners.
And how do we reduce our utility bills? Because that's what really people want to know. They don't want to see the water bill come in and say it went up again.
Well, if the county commissioners had levied these increases every year, you wouldn't have double-digit utility rate um, increases. So what I tell the residents today, your utility bills are high because the county commissioners chose the developer's interest over your protections. You can't reward Chris Constance for always siding with developers. So if you want to change that, you need to get rid of Chris Constance.
Right.
He's the one who is the reason why your utility bills are so high. Now, you can't get that money back. You can't. But what residents need to have is a county commissioner on that board who puts the interest of the people first and doesn't care about developers' interests. My motivation is to help residents, not make developers more profitable.
All right. Before we finalize this segment today with you, and thank you so much again for coming on. I think it's really important to hear from you on these matters. A lot of people are pushing back against flock cameras and other surveillance cameras that are being installed everywhere, not just in Charlotte County, but throughout the United States. And I, for one, when I ran for school board in 2024, advocated for removing them from schools. Now, some people argue that it's for safety and protection, yada, yada, yada. But there's a flip side to that, too, and that is that it allows the government, it allows the schools and so on to track people, innocent people. It's not just about getting the bad guys, it's about documenting behaviors, and it can and has been in some cases reportedly been used to traffic children. Now, Florida is the third worst state in the nation when it comes to child and human trafficking. What is your perspective on that, and how can we turn things around so we are not a surveillance Big Brother society, which we have become already?
Well, first, let me say this. As a retired police detective, I know that surveillance cameras work to deter crime and also to help solve them. But flock cameras are different. Flock cameras use very complex algorithms to take information it takes in every single minute of the day. It cross-references it with other information it's received, and it starts to track people's interests.
Right.
So if you pick up a license plate and you have data on that license plate that it comes back to a specific individual, if you know that person lives in a specific area, if you know that they use their computers for certain types of reasons, you have a tremendous amount of information on them. Flock cameras are designed to provide information not only to law enforcement, but to private entities. That's a serious violation of our Fourth Amendment rights.
Exactly.
Constitutional conservative. The Fourth Amendment is one of the most cherished protections we have. We do not live in a police state. State of Florida is probably the freest state in the country. Why we have these cameras, I don't know. As county commissioner, I don't know if I can stop that, but I'll tell you one thing, and I'll tell all your viewers, I will not go forward with any proposal for flock cameras with the sheriff, with any law enforcement agency, and definitely not with our schools. Definitely. Flock cameras are a danger to our priorities for public safety, but they're also for privacy. These cameras are not used for public safety. They're not. You have HOAs and POAs using them. They're storing information. And when I was a police detective, I needed a warrant for that information.
Right.
Here, you got private companies coming in, collecting all this data and selling it to the highest bidder.
And
That's
there's
what I'm.
absolutely no control with how that data is shared, who has access to it. I've seen videos where somebody was looking at his cell phone in the middle of the street, and the flock camera is able to zoom in and see the exact video that he was watching. That
Right. These,
is not about public safety. That is public surveillance,
well,
and we have to get rid of it.
we should start asking our candidates for governor, what's their position? I want to know, Byron Donalds, what's your position on flock
Hasn't
cameras?
answered. He has avoided that question.
Okay. Jay Collins, Bobby Williams, we need to know. Again, this is a serious violation of Fourth
I
Amendment
think
rights.
Fishback has spoken out against it, from what I've heard.
Mm. But
But
you got to
that's the only
remember,
one that I've heard.
these companies must have hundreds of millions of dollars they invest in lobbying. And what can happen is you can have serious lobbying efforts right now going on with all our candidates for governor. And do we protect these rights, or do our candidates for governor, do they want to protect their pocketbooks? It's a big issue. It's just like AI data centers.
Yeah.
Those data centers bring in hundreds of millions of dollars in property tax, in different taxes. Now, Charlotte County is going to lose 35% of its revenue when this property tax relief bill goes in. Today, the county commissioners have taken a position where they don't want AI data centers. But what happens when they lose 35% of their revenue? Where are they going to turn? They're not going to raise impact fees. They don't want
Yeah.
to piss off developers. So
Right.
I tell residents, you don't want Chris Constance at the wheel making a decision, because right now Chris Constance is totally against property tax relief. So he'd probably be one of the first commissioners to say, you know what, let's try AI data centers. There's too much at stake here. Chris Constance comes up the wrong side of a lot of different arguments, and residents need to know that.
Do you think that Kima Mantri would be a good choice for District 4? Never mind the fact that she doesn't live there.
Um, I have a great working relationship with Stephen R. Deutsch. You know, you got to remember, Constance was supposed to be our liaison for the coalition. I mean, our coalition represents 11,000 residents in Charlotte and Lee counties combined. Well, I have a great relationship with Kevin Ruane from Lee County. I have a great relationship with Debbie Lux and John Gunter from Cape Coral. Why is it that Chris Constance is missing in action? Now, Stephen R. Deutsch is someone who's been in office just as long as Chris Constance. What the difference? Stephen R. is out there every day working with our seniors, working with our veterans, working with our first responders. I don't know much about Kim Amantry. I've met her, on the campaign trail. I've met her in different Republican settings. So I really don't know what she would be as a commissioner. But I do know what Stephen R. Deutsch is. I know he's a very effective commissioner. He's loved by our veterans, and everyone in the Burnt Store area truly trusts him. So for me, Stephen R. Deutsch is someone I can work with. I know if he and I are on the board together, he's always going to get that second to move forward with things like he did when he wanted to lower the tax. Um,
And
the
cut
um,
the
the
budget
tax.
10 million to over $10 million, which you couldn't get a
And
second on from the commissioners that are on now. They literally said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea, but we can wait until next year. It's not important for the taxpayers to save money now. That should have happened now,
Right. And
yesterday."
if you have a second on a motion, there's got to be debate. So that means the county commissioners can't hide. It's easy to say, no, we're moving on. One commissioner can't do anything. But a second commissioner giving a second on a motion, well, that opens up public debate. Every commissioner would be on the record as saying why he doesn't support that or what his position is. So Chris Constance, Joe Tiseo, Doherty, and Joe Truex got off easy. They were
They
not
should have.
pushed, and the only guy we had was Stephen R. making that position, and also Stephen R. is the only one who stood up for residents to protect them when they wanted to raise the utility rates. Again, he lost a 4-1 vote, and the county commissioners moved forward with another 7% increase. Now,
Terrific.
if I was on the board at that time, I would have seconded both motions and we would have had a debate. Residents can see where does their county commissioner uh, side? Does he side with the developers? Does he side with special interests? Or is he concerned about everyday residents in this county?
Exactly. Thank you so much, John, for coming back on We the People show. We look forward to seeing you again soon. The next We the People meeting takes place on Monday, August 3rd, and that is at Mission Barbecue on Miami Trail, right in the center of Port Charlotte. So we look forward to seeing people from Charlotte County at that meeting. It's open to the public. We start at 6 p.m. Be early. Please be there at around 5:30 to get your food and so on and support a good place. We look
Right.
forward to seeing everybody there again. Thank you so much, John.
Great.
Always a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you again, Karina. Thanks. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night.
Bye bye.